Ah. Why isn't it playing? I'm sorry. It sounds like I apologize. That's We're Not Going to Take It by Twisted Sister. Today I'll be going over about some of the problems that we run into as musicians and how sometimes they're used as a scapegoat. The first event I'd like to talk to you about is Elvis. He was sometimes called out for his gyrating moves and was called a sexivist by the New York Times. The America said beware of Elvis because he was feeding off the youth and taking advantage of their fat heads. People were speaking cautionary tales about him, saying that he was destructive to our youth. Next one I'd like to go over is the Beatles. They had a problem with John Lennon. At first they were doing well, but he had said in an article, Christianity will go, it will vanish and shrink. I need to argue with that. I'm right and I will be proved right. We're more popular than Jesus now. I don't know which will go first, rock and roll or Christianity. Jesus was all right, but his disciples were thick and ordinary. It's them twisting it that ruins it for me. This was an uproar, especially in America. They had to take down all their records, posters, anything with the Beatles on it, threw them in the middle of the street, and burned it. It was a big deal in America. Just here. The article was actually written in England, and there, no one really cared. Next, I'll be going on to the PMRC, which is Parental Music Control, which was started by Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, back in the late 80s and up to the early 90s. They have problems with the fact that there are some songs that they found was inappropriate. A few of these songs were We're Not Going to Take It by Twisted Sister for its violent content, Black Sabbath Trash for drug and alcohol use, Prince's Darling Nikki for masturbation, Cyndi Lauper's She Bop for masturbation, Madonna Dress You Up in My Love for sex, Motley Crue's A Bastard for violence, and AC/DC's Let Me Put It My Love Into You for sex. That is just a few of the couple of songs that they had actually originally put labels on. The PMRC, Parental Music Resource Center, had started putting on labels such as parental advisories for explicit content. They're the first company to start doing this back in the late 80s. Dee Snider was one of the people that they interviewed for this hearing that they had, along with Frank Zappa and a couple other people. Here's what some of Dee Snider said. You will note from the lyrics before you that there is absolutely no violence of any type, which sung or implied anywhere in the song. Now, it strikes me that the PMRC may have confused our video presentation for the song with the meaning of the lyrics. It is no secret that the video often depicts storylines completely unrelated to lyrics of the song they accompany. The video We're Not Going to Take It was simply meant to be a cartoon with human actors playing variations on the Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote theme, which each stunt was selected from my extensive personal collection of cartoons. By the way, I am very pleased to note that the United Way of America has been granted a request to use the Persons of We're Not Going to Take It video in a program that they are producing on the subject of changing America's family. They asked for it because of its lighthearted way of talking about communicating with teenagers. This was from the PMRC hearing that they held, examining different types of songs for the content that they had, such as the ones that I had read off to you earlier. Because of that, of Dee Snider and his way of speaking, they were surprised that he was even smart enough to come up and say something because they had no idea what to react to his standings. The next artist I'd like to be going over is Marilyn Manson for Bowling for Columbine in 2002. Right here. Some of what he said from, this is some of what he said from the Bowling for Columbine. When I was a kid growing up, music was an escape. It had no judgment. You put on the record and it's not going to yell at you for dressing the way you do. It's going to make you feel better about it. I definitely see why they picked me. It's easy to throw my face on the TV because I'm in the end poster boy for fear, because I represent what everyone is afraid of, because I do and say what I want. The true byproduct of the tragedy was violence and entertainment and gun control. How perfect, the two things that we're going to be talking about this coming election that we forgot about Monica Lewinsky. We forgot the president was shooting bombs overseas, yet I'm the bad guy because I sing some rock and roll songs. Who's the bigger influence, me or the president? I would like to think me, but I'm going with the president. More. If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine and that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now? Manson, I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one else did. That from the 2002 Bowling for Columbine. He was blamed for the shootings there, and they said that it was his fault because of his explicit lyrics and his content. But really, was it really his fault? As we can see, he has a strong opinion on what happened, and so did the people there. In Columbine, they were very upset that he was coming back, and this is why Michael Moore interviewed him for the 2002 Ozfest, is when this happened. People have always blamed different events on the public eye, the musicians. That's what's going on right now. It's easier to blame someone for their problems than actually take it out on them to see what's going on themselves. This all started before Elvis, way before Elvis, and it'll end way before I die. This will always be a big deal in our culture, blaming on somebody else and everything. Thank you.
All right, Dominique, what did you think?
I thought the music in the beginning was a good tension grabber. Your visuals were really clear. The only thing that I would say is to talk a little bit slower this time. I couldn't really hear some of the stuff you were saying. You kind of flew by each artist. I liked the quotes you had, and I liked how you explained each quote afterwards. And I really like how you didn't really read that much from your speech. You talked to the audience more.
Okay, I think you're rushing quite a bit in the speech, and I think you kind of rush over what your point is, and you are rushing through the presentation. You need to take a deep breath and slow down a little bit. I think that there's a good speech in here, but it gets kind of overwhelmed by the way that you go through it. You just kind of plow through it. I know what the topic area is. What is the goal in the speech? It should be pretty simple, to explore the way that music has been used as a scapegoat for social problems for generations. Okay, that's pretty much a summary of what your content's going to be. You have a preview, but there's not really much of a layout of that material. The preview basically consists of the visual. We know what's coming because you've got it all up there in front of us from the very beginning of the presentation. It's organized chronologically, so you're going through it through the different time periods, which makes a lot of sense. But I think that you don't necessarily explain how, for instance, Elvis and John Lennon were blamed for some of the things that were going on. I know that there were people who said negative things about them, but I think you need to give us a little bit more, for instance, about the claims about Elvis, creating miscegenation or juvenile delinquency, or maybe a little bit more context about the Beatles and especially John Lennon's comments in the context of the religious issue, and that it created controversy. There's no doubt about it, but is it the same kind of scapegoating thing that you're talking about? I'm not sure if that one fits as well. The signpost, most of the time, it just consists of next and next, next, and so it comes across a little bit like a checklist, and you want to be a little bit more eloquent than that. The visual, it's background wallpaper. You don't make specific reference to it during the speech except for one or two images. It's a little small to see. I've already mentioned that you're rushing through the speech. At the end, I thought you had a nice summary of the idea, but not necessarily the contents of the speech. So I think it's in kind of in a rough form, and you need to work on presentation issues a little bit to make it more smooth. Thank you.